hi. It's a very definite hi. Okay, so I have been asked quite a bit about the Sacral Series. Why would I want to write about trauma and abuse? And why are these books so important? And how the hell am I making money every single month off books that are talking about such traumatic subjects when other authors who are writing about the happy, joy of life are skint? Well, see, here's the thing. The reason why I'm writing these books in the Sacral Series, I've already written Moana, Layla, Pandora, and Alpha. Alpha has been nominated for an award for outstanding writing, and I was acknowledged by my peers in the industry, which made me really happy. And yeah, that's in and of itself is just a wonderful experience and a set feeling. You know, it's one thing for your friends and family to say your writing's good, but when your peers believe your writing is good enough to enter you into an outstanding writing competition, that kind of that kind of puts the bloody ice in the cherry and the custard on top of the cake. And those of you who know me quite well will know I love a bit of custard. Oh, custard. Anyway, so the Sacral Series, they are traumatic books to write. They are incredibly difficult to write. With Alpha, I was actually physically sick. I started writing the book, and as I'm writing, I could feel all this energy that's been stored in my body. Knowing this story for well over a decade, releasing it. And I visited the bathroom, and I spent quite a bit of time getting acquainted with the porcelain. As my friend Jenna, she goes, what do you mean? I was like, I was sick. She goes, oh, you're in the toilet. I was like, well, yeah. She goes, the porcelain, you're so posh. So anyway, when I say getting acquainted with the porcelain, it's a polite way of saying I was throwing my guts up. But that's the thing. When I write books that are, for me, of service to humanity. They are books that I believe will help make the world a better place. They're books that will give people hope and confidence and courage to get through the next day, to put one foot in front of the other, because sometimes we are in this space of doing so much and putting on a brave face, thinking that we're all alone in this world and that we're the only one going through all of this stuff. And then there are people that have trusted me with their stories. Now, the 9 books in the Sacral Series, they are true stories. I have been gifted the honour of writing them, and I do get nervous, even though I'm an international best-selling author multiple times over, even though my Moana was submitted and was shortlisted for an award. You know, and it doesn't matter how many times I write a book, I still get excited that I've written a book every time I finish a book. You know, it's like I start like, oh my God, I've just written a book. But these books in the Sacral Series, they're not easy reads. You know, like I said, I've already done Moana. That was about someone being in a narcissistic relationship, going through some really terrible sexual trauma. And how they use travel and crystals and meditation to heal their wounds. Then we've got Layla, who was the daughter of a woman who was raped and then disowned by her family because she wouldn't have an abortion. Because the thing is, the person who raped her was a very prominent member of society, and it would have been known whose child it was, and he would have been found guilty. And the family couldn't allow that. They couldn't allow themselves and the rest of the family to go through their difficulties. But Layla, she was born, obviously, but her mother couldn't face raising her. And so Layla was put in a room, and Layla used art therapy. And then we have Pandora, who was abused by her uncle, and she wanted to just silence the world and numb the pain. She ended up freediving in ice cold water. Now, with Alpha, she channeled the pain and the suffering of rape within marriage, female genital mutilation, and sex trafficking into a social justice movement. And those of you who know me will know that I'm all about social justice and raising awareness and raising consciousness of what's going on in the world. Now, I'm about to start working on faith. This is not a woman's story. This is a man who shared his story with me. This is about the abuse of the church and the imams in the Islamic faith, and looking at how we blindly trust these pious men to take care of our children, and what this young guy experienced at the hands of an imam. We will then go on to Social, which is the 6th book in the series, where I'll be sharing the story of another young man who became a social worker, and he discovered things within the social care system that are really quite shocking, and he was doing it through his dissertation. Now, his journey of healing and what he discovered is just phenomenal. He used his geekiness, his inner geek, to channel the healing that he was going through into research and creating awareness. So a bit like Alpha, who created a social movement, but he did it through the world of literature. That will then wrap up the 2nd trilogy in the Trinity of Trilogies, before we then embark on the journey of the systemic abuse. So what you'll have seen is that the first trilogy was all about the abuse from one person to another. And then here in the 2nd trilogy, we're looking at the community abuse on an individual or group of individuals. And then the final trilogy, which is probably the most dangerous of the trilogies, is all about the systemic abuse on the community. And they are quite dangerous books, especially the last 3. I have been told I'm a dangerous woman. I mean, I don't think I am. I like to giggle. I'm a really nice person. I have a huge heart, and that's one of the reasons why I write these books, because I know what it's like to go through really difficult, traumatic times. I know what it's like to not be able to feel that I can turn to somebody, and actually just turning to books instead, and finding answers for many of my questions in books, knowing that once the book is published, that it can't be edited like it can be in like an article. Also, these real life stories, like I said, they were trusted to me, and I didn't know what to do with them. Many of the people that shared their story with me said, well, you'll know when the time is right, Dawn, like, we trust you, you'll do something with them. And each of these books does have a podcast to go with it. So if reading is not your thing, then there is a podcast. Now, the podcasts are with my co-host Adam Walton of the Mental Mastery Alliance. And yes, we talk about the subjects in the books, but we're also talking about what these books actually mean to humanity. What are the associated subjects that are linked to these books? You're also going to get to know a bit more about me as an author, but also as a human. And, it's, like I said, it's not an easy series for me to write. And someone said to me, why are they classed as fiction when they're true life stories? Now, one of the reasons why they are classed as fiction is because to protect the identities, not just of the individual who shared their story with me, but to protect the identities of their children and their families, I've given these people a different identity and a different ethnicity. And one of the ways in which I did that was I actually looked at what was going on in their life. What were similar situations in the world, and where were they happening? So, for example, Layla, I gave her the identity of a Torres Strait Islander. And one of the reasons why I gave her Torres Straits Islander is because Layla was from a group of islands, and the artwork that she did was very indigenous artwork, and I absolutely adored the indigenous artwork that I saw when I was up in Darwin in Australia, and a lot of that was the work from the Torres Straits Islanders, and it was such a moving experience, just being captivated by the indigenous art in the Northern Territories and Darwin and Torres Straits. So that's one of the reasons why Layla was given the Torres Straits Islander. And then with Pandora, if I'd have actually written her book and not changed her the location of where she would have been very easily identified. So instead of giving her nationality, I then created her identity based in Alaska. Ice cold water, I mean, it's Alaska. You're not really going to get much colder than that unless you're in the Arctic, and I don't think there are many free divers in the Arctic. And then with Alpha, I looked at where the challenges of blood diamonds, sex trafficking, FGM, and rape within marriage was happening. And although Alpha has been given the Angolan identity, Alpha is not Angolan, but the similarities between Angola and Alpha's country and ethnicity, nationality, were very similar. So that's why Alpha has been given an Angolan identity. Now, Faith is about a young man. He went to London after leaving his country, and where the abuse happened. Now, I've given him a Pakistani identity. He isn't Pakistani, but he is of a Muslim background, and for me, some of the abuses that we're seeing in the Western world, the English world, they are coming from the South Asian community as well as the Arabic community. But to protect this gentleman's identity, again, I've given him a different ethnicity. We then have social. I've given him a Kiwi identity, so he's from New Zealand. And again, so you can see why they're called fiction books, even though they are true life stories. And it's been very difficult to select the identity and nationality and ethnicities of these people, because I've had to make sure that the cultural aspects are as close as possible to the individual's real identity, and to make sure that what I'm writing is absolute truth. The only difference that is in these books as to the real stories is actually obviously me paraphrasing and remembering conversations, but it does bring smiles as well as tears and sadness, because some of the characters that you're going to be reading about, some of these people that you're reading about, some of them are no longer with us. Some of the things that they've gone through are really, really challenging. And they are really difficult to write about, but I've had to make sure that I've just written what I know. And some of the research that I've had to do for these books, just to really put things into context for people, they've also been really difficult. Like, you know, with Alpha looking at female genital mutilation and seeing the damage done to women's vaginas and their health. You know, looking at the damage that is done, and some of the statistics that I've come across, horrendous statistics. And so we have book 4 out of 9. There will be a final book, book 10, that will wrap them all up and will be more of a thesis rather than a fiction book. One of the reasons why these books are a lot shorter, I mean, most of them are around about 35,000 words. One of the reasons they're so small is simply and purely because I am sticking to what I know. I'm sticking to what was shared. I'm not giving the characters, the people, a backstory. I'm not elaborating on it to create this wonderful work of fiction. I am giving you pretty much you know, I wouldn't say word for word, because you know some of these conversations happened a while ago, and I do have notes, and I still have, you know, a lot of the documentation and memories from these places, and these conversations. But for me, giving a backstory and embellishing on things, it just didn't work for this series. And I am really, really looking forward to making sure that I do the very best I can to honour these 9 individuals and to honour the work and the efforts that they've put into the world and helping other people heal. So if you have not yet purchased a copy of one of the books in the Sacral series, then please do visit dawnbates.com/sacral series and purchase them. Like I said, Alpha has been entered into an award. Now, depending on when you watch this video will depend on whether the closing date for your nominations will be counted by your purchase of the book. And like I said, just to be recognised by my peers has been phenomenal. You know, so it's already gone through the first round of, yeah, that was just incredible. But to nominate Alpha for an award for, you know, the bravery and the courage of this lady, and the work that she's done in the world, and to support me in my efforts in sharing these stories, please do go to Amazon and purchase your copy of Alpha. And or again, go to dawnbates.com/sacral series and you'll find Alpha on there as well. And closing date for the competition is the 31st of August 2021. And Alpha goes on full release on the 11th of August. So sending you much love. I hope that I've answered some of the questions that some of you have been sending my way. And I really do hope that you enjoy the series as much as these subjects can be enjoyed. See, I've just cried and got mascara underneath my eye. But yeah, if you've got any questions, or you have a book that you feel that you would like to write, and you need some support going through it, and it is a tough subject, just know that I get it. I will walk you through this process, and I will hold space for you, and I'm here. Reach out, ask questions. The website is going to be updated with quite a few documents, and there are lots of different ways in which you can work with me. I have the 7-week author course. I have the Writers on Block session. There is manuscript assessment. So if you've got a manuscript that you'd like to send to me, that you'd like me to read, to tell you whether I'd be willing to publish it or not, then just send me an email, hello@dawnbates.com, and I will get back to you shortly. I'm now going to go and sort out a couple of client manuscripts and crack on with faith. So much love to you all, and thank you so much for being here. Ciao, ciao.